But yeah, I've been becoming I'm man, I'm so excited. I knew I wanted to become a dad since I was like 13 years old, and now it's happening. Like in July, I'll be a dad. And yesterday, I bought the car seat. A couple weeks ago, we bought the bassinets. Man, it's the more and more stuff we buy, the more excited I get, and it's oh, man, it's wild. I'm so excited for it. It's beyond insane. That being said, another thing that's kind of happened is I've been drawing a lot more. I love doing digital art and just drawing, doing like digital drawing, and um, it's a scientific fact at this point that when like you're stressed or feeling overwhelmed, that when you create something with your hands, it's easy to feel more proud of it, and it's relaxing and helps you refocus. And so, yeah, future tip: if you're ever feeling like overwhelmed or like just not very productive, or things are just kind of getting in the way and you're not able to figure things out, or you're stressed, creating something with your hands is a really good way to refocus and refilter your thoughts and bring things through, and allows you to refocus. So it's really cool. But yeah, that's not what we're talking about today. I want to start off this episode by talking a little bit about what long term fat loss actually looks like, because it looks very different from what most people have probably been taught. And I want to get into like the top 7 tips that I give clients, that my most successful clients have implemented to be more consistent with their diet, with their plan, with their training, and just with their habits in general. Because we know that weight loss is more than just a diet, right? It's more than just exercise. It's your daily behaviors, right? It's everything you do outside of eating and outside of exercise that actually helps you maintain things. Habits, like different pitfalls and trap doors that we tend to fall through, and traps that we get caught up in, that tend to pull us out of what we normally do, and pull us out of the plan and into old behaviors. Like if you're somebody who struggles with emotional eating, binge eating, stuff like that, right? So these are basically ways to, and a lot of times people also say, oh, I'm doing everything right, but I'm not losing weight and XYZ. And a lot of it just comes down to the fact that they're just not being as consistent as they think they are. Or they know they're not being consistent and they're struggling to find out how to become more consistent. And that's what today's going to be like. But first, I want to talk about what long term fat loss actually looks like, because a lot of the times people have been conditioned to believe that fat loss is going to be quick, it's going to be rapid, it's going to be a straight line, it's going to be linear, and XYZ. But in reality, it's not quite like that. But we've been conditioned to believe that because we hear that all the time. All the news headlines, all of the magazine headlines, they all say like 30 pounds in 2 months or whatever. And the reality is, it doesn't work that way. And we know that about 95% of everyone who loses weight on a diet will gain it back within like 1 year, right? And that's a staggeringly high number of people. And so we don't, I sent an email out this morning, and if you read that email, then you know that sometimes there are certain things that it takes to be the top 5% who can maintain that weight loss and be in that position, right? And these are the 7 habits, or 7 ways to be consistent so we can maintain it as a lifestyle. But also, real fat loss is slow, and no one likes to hear that. But because we've been conditioned to believe it should be fast, every fad diet, every extreme attempt that we've ever done, which is most people, they gain the weight back. Yeah, the question to ask is, did it actually work? Because a lot of the times we go, oh, you know what? I did Ideal Protein. I lost like 40 pounds like that. I'm going to go back to Ideal Protein. And here's the thing: if you can't do it for life, and you can't do it in the face of challenges in life, which will always happen, they will always come up. You will always be faced with challenges. And if life gets in the way and you fall off plan, well, then your plan sucked. Like, I'm sorry to say, but no, Ideal Protein didn't work. Otherwise, it would have been something you can sustain during stressful periods, not something you have to throw out the window and then wait until life calms down again. That's not a good plan. when we're trying to get healthy, we're doing this for life, which means we have to take life into consideration when developing our plan. We can't just wing it or just attach to some fad and race to the bottom. Life gets in the way, then you gain all the weight back and be like, oh, when life calms down, then I'll start again. Well, it's like, guess what? Your life clock is still ticking. You're still getting closer and closer to the day you're going to die. And that's going to come faster if you neglect your health, unfortunately. But that's the reality of it. And what happens a lot of the time is people will lose weight very, very quickly on these fad diets, these extreme attempts, these extreme diets. They'll lose weight very, very quickly and they'll attach to that. They'll get emotionally attached to that. They'll love that. And then when it comes to then they struggle to maintain it because it wasn't sustainable, because it's not a plan they can do for the rest of their life. And so when life got crazy, they gained the weight back. So the question is that the fast way? Did you actually, like, when people say, oh, like, I lost weight really quickly but then I gained the weight back? Well, it's like, okay, well, then it didn't work. And so it's actually taking longer to reach your goal, not less time. In reality, the short way, the fast way is the way that takes the longer time. The slow and sustainable approach is the fast way. Slow is fast. Fast is slow. When you lose weight very, very quickly, you're less likely to hold on to that weight loss, hold on to that results. And if the method is unsustainable, then so are the results that come with it, which is why the results that come slowly are easier to hold on to, are easier to maintain. You're more sustainable. You're more likely to follow through and keep going because there's small, consistent changes, not big sweeping ones. And the reality is you lose a lot of weight a lot quicker when you slowly put the pieces together, when you slowly get the habits that are required in place. Because, like I say all the time, a lot of the times it's not the 30 pounds that'll make you happy. It's everything that you think will improve that's important, right? When I ask somebody, hey, like, if you lose 30 pounds, like, are you, if somebody says, hey, you know what, I want to lose 30 pounds. Okay, so if you lose 30 pounds, you'll be happy. They go, yes. And then you say something like, okay, well, what if you lose that 30 pounds, but you don't look any different and don't feel any different? Are you still going to be happy? And they go, well, no, of course not. Oh, got it. So it's not the 30 pounds that's important. It's what you think losing 30 pounds will add to your life. Those are the things that need to be in place in order to lose 30 pounds, not the other way around. Losing 30 pounds won't make you sleep better. Losing 30 pounds isn't the thing that's going to get you to be stronger, more capable. It's not the thing that's going to make life better. What's going to make life better is the thing that will get you to lose 30 pounds, right? So when you race to the bottom and you jump on the next fad diet, you lose weight very, very quickly, which is exciting and makes you think that you're doing the right thing. When in reality, you're just actually probably setting yourself up for failure. You're setting yourself up to be that 95% who just gains the weight back and struggles to lose weight year after year. So go slow. Be okay with it taking a while. You have your entire life to work on it. And that's the thing, is that you're slowly working on it more and more over time. Hey, look, one more thing that you got in place, one more thing that you got in place by implementing the healthy habits, the habits that we know make somebody healthier, though that's when the things start falling into place. So where a lot of people will lose a lot of weight in the first 30 days within the next but then like 15 days later, like the average dieting attempt lasts between 4 to 6 weeks, right? For the first 4 to 6 weeks, things are going really, really well. Something happens and you gain the weight back. You fall off track because you're doing everything all at once. And so when you actually take into consideration that this is a lifelong pursuit of trying to make improvements, that allows you to be like, okay, what are the big pieces that need to fall into place for me to get the results that I want? Okay, so I got sleep down and I'm exercising regularly. Oh, look, I lost a couple pounds. Nice. Okay, well, I got those two things down. Okay, well, let's increase protein, let's increase fiber. Oh, hey, look at that. Now I'm down another 3 to 5 pounds. Okay, well, let's try to make sure I'm active throughout the day and not just sedentary and living my life on the chair. Let's try to hit 7,500 steps, set like 7,500 to 10,000 steps a day. Cool, we're doing that, and I'm drinking more water. Oh, look, there's the next couple pounds. Okay, so as you slowly start to adopt the healthier habits, the behaviors that you can sustain, that's when the weight starts to come off. And it comes off when those things happen, not the other way around. So as you're trying to improve sex drive, as you're trying to, like healthier libido, hormonal balance, stuff like that, all these things need to fall into place first. Then the weight loss happens. Notice how whenever you do a crash diet, you lose energy, not gain it. We slowly have to create a sustainable plan that suits our needs, our lifestyle, and our preferences and our individual selves. And slowly, as we begin to formulate a plan and put together a plan that we can sustain, that's when the results come, not before. Focusing on the goal does not get you the goal. Focusing on the actions that create the goal gets you the goal. So focus on the actions that need to come in to happen. And the rest of this episode, I'm going to start getting into essentially the 7 tips to create a sustainable plan that fits you, your life, that you can slowly begin to navigate and integrate and change and grow and evolve with you as a human being, as you grow and evolve, and as your goals evolve, as your body changes. Things can change, and this is how we start to get that ball rolling, where we can start collecting small wins, where we can actually put together a plan that you can do consistently. So here are these 7 tips that my most successful clients have used to be more consistent with their plan and make it individual so they can actually get the results they're after. So point number 1, start small. Start small. Bigger commitments equals harder to maintain. More does not equal better. More equals more willpower required, more discipline required, more struggle, and more likely to quit. That's all more does. The more things you pile on to what you think you need to do, the more likely you are to fail and quit. The best plans slowly put the pieces together over time in a way that accentuates your life. So pick small things, things that take no time at all. So, for example, one of the things that I do with my clients inside the Vitality Academy, one of the things that I have is, hey, pick your 3 minimums, right? Your 3 raising your floor activities, 3 commitments to yourself that you can do each and every day that take 5 minutes or less, which means at most you're taking 15 minutes a day to intentionally go out of your way and work on these things. So for one, it could be, I always recommend that we start with 1 movement, 1 nutrition, and 1 self-care. So examples of this could be, when I wake up, I'm just going to do 5 minutes stretching routine, get my body nice and limber and opened up. And it feels good to be active. So I'm active first thing in the morning. It's just a 5-minute total body stretching routine, really quick and easy. Nothing extravagant, nothing intense, but just get the body moving, do some stretching, get the body open up. You feel much better. It's a great way to start the day. 5 minutes is all it takes. Nutrition. A lot of people struggle to get fruits and vegetables. So let's take 5 minutes. Take a bag of frozen veggies, put them in a small bowl, put a little bit of water in them, put it in the microwave for 5 minutes. You now have perfectly steamed veggies. Put some salt on there, grate a little bit of maybe like Monterey Jack cheese on top of it, just a little bit, just get some flavor. And now you have delicious, high quality foods that you now have a serving of vegetables to have at breakfast or lunch or dinner that you wouldn't normally have, but it takes 5 minutes in the microwave. That's it. You can even take a potato if you don't want to spend as long as it takes. Take a potato and like poke holes in it, cut some deep gashes into it, wrap it up in a wet paper towel, microwave it for 5 minutes. You now have a very well steamed potato or yam or sweet potato, whatever it is that you want. But it takes 5 minutes, and now you have a perfectly cooked yam or potato. But it's another serving of vegetables, fiber. I talk about it all the time, but this is an amazing way just to 5 minutes. 5 minutes in the morning for stretching, 5 minutes somewhere in the afternoon, or to prep your vegetables. Like if you don't normally have vegetables and you take to work, that's a great way to start. Just toss in the microwave before you go, pack it up, you're done. And then 5 minutes of self-care work, self-development work. This could be 5 minutes of just reflecting on your day. What went well? What didn't go well? What could have gone better? How could you have handled the situation better? What went well? Why did things go well? Not only why did things go well, but can you repeat those things? The things that went well today, that went your way, that got you closer to your goal, can you repeat those actions tomorrow? how, when, why. Like take 5 minutes to do that, or take 5 minutes to plan out tomorrow. Take 5 minutes to be like, okay, I know tomorrow's a busy day. So what can I do to better prepare? Take 5 minutes to understand what tomorrow's going to look like and plan accordingly. And that's it. Those three things are powerful ways to start creating success for yourself in future days. And so these three things: 5 minutes of stretching, 5 minutes of cooking a vegetable in the microwave, like super easy, as well as 5 minutes of just journaling and planning, is are those three things alone can be very powerful at changing the trajectory of your journey and making you more consistent, because you're making a plan. And 5 minutes is easy. Anyone can commit to 5 minutes. Everyone has 5 minutes 3 times a day. Everyone has 5 minutes 3 times a day, 15 minutes total in their day. Everyone can have that time. You can do it. And so committing to smaller actions, and you can add to it later. You can always add more. But when you take away from your commitments, you now feel defeated, like you're not good enough at sustaining that. Whatever, for whatever reason, it's too hard, too difficult. You're overcommitting. But everyone can commit to 5 minutes 3 times a day. So start there, and you can always add to it on days where you have more time and you're able to. But committing to 5 minutes a day every day not only makes it easy to be consistent, but you're actually, every single day, 3 times a day, you are giving your brain evidence that you are this person. And this just becomes a part of your routine. It makes it a lot easier. So, number one, start small, 5 minutes or less. You can add more on days that feel good, but don't overcommit and then have to pull back, because that's how you end up feeling defeated and feeling drained and feeling like you're failing, and when in reality you're not. And so just don't overcommit. Commit to small actions; those add up a lot over time. Point number two: plan as if you're not going to be motivated. Plan for your worst days. Look, motivation is a feeling. People love to say, oh, you know what? I would love to, but I'm just not feeling motivated. I don't feel motivated to do this thing. Well, it's like, yeah, because motivation is a feeling. And like any other feeling, it comes and goes. You're not always happy 24/7. You're not always angry and frustrated 24/7. You're not always feeling joyful. You're not always feeling love. You're not always feeling confusion. You're not always feeling frustration. These are all things that come and go, and depending on contexts. So we know that you're probably going to spend about 90% of your life feeling unmotivated. Now, I could say something like, oh, just rely on discipline, more willpower. You need to want it more. But I hate those things. Those don't make any sense, and they're not helpful. So how about instead just make a plan for your worst days and make them non-negotiable, right? So what I mean by this is, a lot of people have suffered from depression at some point in their life. And people who have depression, sometimes it takes 80% of your daily energy for that day just to get out of bed, which means you're not going to go to the gym that day. You're going to have a really hard time sticking to a nutrition plan. You're going to have a really hard time making sure you're getting your 10,000 steps, right? It's going to days like that where you just don't have as much to give. Those are the days where you then start to beat yourself up for not holding yourself to the highest maximal standard or the goals that you set yourself when you're feeling incredible. Because when you go to set goals, a lot of the times people go, I'm going to set this goal. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. I'm going to do 10,000 steps a day, 40 grams of fiber, 150 grams of protein. I'm going to drink a gallon of water a day. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. Because these are all healthy things to do, people like to commit to these healthy things. But the problem is that, once again, kind of like the starting small, is that they're over committing. And on all those days where they feel like garbage, they're not going to be able to follow through. And so those days are going to be the days where you beat yourself up. Those are going to be the days where you tell yourself you're a failure, that you can't do it. Why is this so hard? What's wrong with me? Blah, 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 XYZ, right? So plan your day. Like, if ask yourself, what days do I tend to feel the worst? After a bad night's sleep, after I had an argument with my husband, after I had a fight with my kid, after I had a bad day at work, after XYZ, someone just cut me off in traffic and I'm just drained and stressed and out of energy. What can you still do on those days? And make those non-negotiables so that even on your worst days, you can still check the boxes required for you to still be proud of the person that you were that day. Plan as if you're not going to be motivated. Plan as if your days are not going to be all hunky dory. Most of your days are going to feel probably mediocre. They're going to feel pretty average. So plan for those days. Now, the idea is over time, as you start to improve your health, now you have less and less bad days, which means you can then level up your commitments. Right. And plus, I don't need to help you on your good days. On the days where things are going well, you have a great sleep, you're feeling loved in your relationship. You're having a great relationship with your children, just got a raise at work. Like all when everything starts to fall into place, you those are good days. You have lots of energy and you're a lot more motivated and a lot more energized to actually do the things you committed to. I don't need to help you on those days. What you need to do is make sure that your worst days are better. Because if you can't get better than a 10 out of 10 day when everything is perfect, but you can improve your worst days. So if you can get your worst days from 2 out of 10 to 4 out of 10, you've literally doubled your potential results and doubled your likelihood of staying committed and actually being able to stay on track even on your worst days. So plan for your worst days. Point number 2, plan for your worst days. Point number 3, this kind of piggybacks off of the last 2 points, number 1 and 2, but only pick 1 to 3 things to start. Okay. Similar to point number 1, more does not equal better. Like when was the last time that you successfully adopted 12 new habits and maintained them over a period of months or years? Most people can't say they have. I haven't, and I do this for a living. Because again, it's not about being perfect. But only pick 1 to 3 things to start. Tops. And that's if you have a lot of more open free time. Because if you try to again overcommit, take on too many things all at once, you're going to feel like that kid who was told to go into band class. And if you were told you have to master every single instrument before you leave this 1 hour class today. Otherwise, you don't get to go home. You're going to feel overwhelmed. And it's going to be that same thing where, like, we've all been here, where you overbook yourself for a day, where in a single day, like, you have so many errands to run, so many things to accomplish, and you had a hard day at work, and you had your kids nagging at you. And then at the end of the day, you've overbooked yourself. And oh, yeah, you had this dinner you were going to go to with your friends, but man, you're just so tired. I'm just gonna call them and let them know I can't make it. And you start canceling on your friends. You start canceling on the plans that you had because you're feeling so overwhelmed and you just need to relax. We've all been there. But that's what you do when you overcommit to things, when you take on too many tasks at once. So just pick 1 or 2 things, 3 at max. And the more busy you are, the less things you should try to change. Because because the more mental energy you have to put towards this thing, the harder it's going to be. And the harder it is, the less likely you are to stick to it. We want you to do this for life. Consistency is king. We hear that all the time. But if you're demotivated and you're overbooking yourself all the time, and you have to always tell yourself no, and always say no to yourself, then you're eventually just going to say no to yourself altogether and throw in the towel and just go back to what you were doing before. And that's not the point. That's not what we want. We want to be able to do this for life. So the busier you are, the less things you should try to change at once. So just pick 1 to 3 things at most, right? So that you don't overbook yourself. Just be like, you know what? Life's really crazy right now. I have low energy all the time, and I never feel like I can really commit to anything. So, but what I can do is, you know what? I can probably make a bedtime routine. I could probably set 15 minutes before I go to bed every single day and just do a small 15-minute routine. Could be a warm shower, read it, and then start reading, journaling, writing down my wins, stuff like that. And then, you know what? I'm just going to do that every single day. Set that routine. 15 minutes. Like I said, everyone has 15 minutes somewhere in the day. But in this case, you know what? At the end of the day, I'm just going to spend 15 minutes doing the same thing each and every day because we know that the human brain loves to associate actions with the results. It loves like those cues, right? So if you keep doing the same thing again and again every single night, eventually your brain starts to attach sleep time with those actions. And so your routine eventually helps you wind down. You get to sleep faster and deeper. And hey, look, that one thing that I committed to allowed me to have more energy because of the fact that I slept better. So I slept better, so I have more energy. My hunger hormones are more regulated. I'm starting to lose weight because I'm not as ravenous throughout the day. I'm recovering better. I have more energy. And so I'm moving around more. I'm completing my tasks faster and they're taking up less of my energy because I had a good sleep. And hey, look, now I have open slot to do a half an hour workout once a day or 3 times a week. Cool. Now that I'm feeling stronger, I'm sleeping deeper again because I'm exercising. That helps a lot. But I'm also feeling stronger, more stable. My lower back pain's going away, my elbow pain's going away, and my hip pain's going away. I have more range of motion. I feel better. And all of that started from just one focusing on one thing and then adding as those benefits begin to compound. So never be afraid of just doing one thing at a time. Now, a lot of people will be like, "Oh, that's nothing. That won't change a thing." I've seen people lose weight off of just increasing their protein. One thing, just by increasing their protein, they started losing weight because now they're not as hungry, they're feeling more full, more satisfied, and now they start losing weight. Now you add fiber and water on top of that, and that alone has changed people's lives. So never underestimate the power of doing one thing really well. Get really good at these habits and then add one more. But the busier you are, the less you can commit to. So don't try to overcommit to a million things all at once. So, point number 3, only pick 1 to 3 things. And then once you've got those nailed down, pick 1 or 2 more. That's it. Slow and steady wins the race here. Point number 4, make it a part of your routine. Because here's the thing, you already have consistency in your life, right? People like say like I'm just not consistent. Well, actually you are. And we're going to and this is one of the most powerful tools we have at our disposal. Something called habit stacking. It's when you take something that you already have and then anchoring the habit that you want to develop on top of that, right? So you already have consistency nailed down, right? Just with other things, right? You drive to work, you brush your teeth, you walk the dog, you get your kids ready for school, you put your kids to bed, you feed the dog, you feed yourself, right? There's a lot of things that you already have in place. You already have the skill of consistency nailed down for other things. So let's take advantage of that. This is why habit stacking works so well because now we can make use of the routines and habits you already have in place. So let's say for myself, like walking the like for myself, after dinner, I brush my teeth, walk the dog, right? Uh Part of it is like at 6:30 every day, I brush my teeth and I walk my dog. And then I get home and I have a shower and I go to and then go to bed, right? So what we can do is we can just take the habits you already have, right? Let's say that, give yourself ultimatums. I'm not going to brush my teeth until I drink a glass of water. Cool. Now you're working on hydration. Or after every night after I brush my teeth, I'm going to do a quick little breathing breath work session, right? Whenever you feed the dog, take a lap, right? Any sort of habit that you want to start taking up. Any habit that you look and go, you know what, I need to start improving this thing. What can you do to to integrate that habit into a habit that you already have, that you're already consistent with? Because here's the thing, when we're talking about consistency, the consistency like trying to adopt a new skill, like what's going to happen is you're not going to suddenly get bad at brushing your teeth. That's a thing you do every single day. You're not going to suddenly start forgetting it because you have to do this other thing as well. No, what's going to happen is you're going to get really good at that new thing. They're going to get really good at integrating that new habit into your current lifestyle. It's going to happen because you're not going to just suddenly be like, oh, I have to have a drink of water before brushing my teeth. I guess I just won't brush my teeth today. Like that's not going to happen. You're going to get really good at remembering to hydrate. You're gonna get really good at remembering to do 5 minute journaling. You're gonna get really good at remembering to do a 5 minute like stretching routine before you brush your teeth or whatever, right? You're gonna get really good at the new habit because you're already really good at the one that you're anchoring it to. So habit stacking is one of the most powerful ways to start creating behavior changes because now you're going to start remembering a lot easier because now you're attaching it to a routine that already exists rather than trying to make a new routine out of nowhere. So, point number 4, make the habit you're trying to implement a part of a routine that already exists. That is an excellent way to be more consistent. Point number 5, get crystal clear on what happens if you don't. This one can be uncomfortable, but it helps a lot. Get crystal clear on exactly what's going to happen if you neglect your health. Don't get me wrong, it's important to always look ahead. It's important to keep the goal in sight, but it's just important to remember and reflect on the past and remember what it is that you don't want to happen. A lot of you have children that you want to be good role models for, and a lot of you are also watching your parents deteriorate. A lot of you are watching the exact thing you want to avoid happen to your own family members. And you know that if you don't change yourself, you're going to be the same. And you're going to have now watch your children make the same decision that you could have made that could have changed the trajectory of their life. Right? It's important to understand what it is that we want. And it's important to understand the goal that we're chasing. But remember, the brain hates change. The brain will always gravitate, your mind will always gravitate towards what's familiar. And because anything outside of what's familiar, it considers a threat. It doesn't know what life is going to be like when you make these changes. And the devil you know is better than the devil you don't. So if you don't look back and remember why you're doing it in the first place, not just for the positives, but the negatives, trying to avoid the negatives, because we know that, hey, after the age of 50, when you fall, you have a 30% chance of falling and breaking a hip. We know that. And we also have the research to show that 1/3 of everybody who falls after the age of 65 who breaks a hip will pass away in 1 year or less. We also know that the average time it takes for someone to pass away is 2 years after retirement. 2 years after retirement is the average time it takes for someone to pass away because they stop moving. Because a lot of jobs require some sort of mental stimulation and physical stimulation. And so when you retire, you lose both. And so we know that being weak things break. So it's probably a good idea to go strength train. We know that that healthy things are healthy regardless of the outcomes. So you might as well just do them so you can actually live a longer, healthier life and actually get to enjoy those years and not just turn into a vegetable rotting on the couch until you one day pass away. We see our parents in pain. We see our parents overweight and sick and stressed all the time. We see this on a daily basis, or we hear about it on a daily basis. So we know exactly who we don't want to be. But I think a lot of the times we lose sight of that. We don't remember that. So it's good to still look ahead and understand what it is that we're chasing. Yes, I want to lose 30 pounds. I want to look good in a bikini. I want to get the confidence in my body again. I want to have the energy to play with my kids. But I also don't want to make sure that I don't end up like my parents. I want to make sure I don't end up in a hospital because I was too weak to carry myself, because I was too weak to lift myself off the floor when I fell, or I wasn't able to catch on and hold on with my own body weight. I wasn't strong enough to do X Y Z. I wasn't healthy enough to do X Y Z. I got out of breath walking upstairs. I fell down the stairs and I couldn't get up because I'm just not in a position health wise where I could help myself in these situations. Like it's good to get crystal clear on the consequences of neglecting your health. Um, because we see it every day. 70% of all of North Americans are overweight, 44% are considered obese. So we look around, we see people struggling through life. We see people in chronic pain. We see people playing the victim. We see people blaming their circumstances. And you can decide to not do that. And that comes from getting crystal clear on understanding, hey, I don't want to be a victim of my circumstances. I want to stop rationalizing my shitty decisions. So I'm going to start making better decisions because I know what it was like to live that way. I hated it, right? And we can remind ourselves, like, if you went from that position you're trying to change, not just looking around you and seeing your parents deteriorate because they're neglecting their health, but you've been neglecting your health, and so you feel the negatives of that already, and so you know what it's like, you know what you're running away from, and you want to make sure that you're not leaving a bad example for your children, but then also reminding yourself of the positives, like what'll happen if you do change, right? And so understanding both sides of the equation. And a lot of people are like, oh, you forget about the past. The past is the past. It doesn't matter. Why are you always bringing up the past? Like, because the past leaves clues. The past is a really good record of exactly what happened and when and why. And so if you analyze and reflect on your behaviors in the past, you know exactly how your mind thinks. If you know that, you know what, every time I step on the scale and it goes up goes up a pound, it goes in the wrong direction, that internal panic starts to well up inside you. If you know that about yourself, then you know that's something you want to change. So understanding the negatives of neglecting your health, not just the positives you're chasing, but the negatives you're trying to avoid, is also a really powerful technique to remind you why you're doing what you're doing and to help you be more consistent. Because in the moment, if you're like, hey, is the decision that I'm about to make actually a decision I want to make? Because we have an opportunity to project ahead. Like if I do give into this cake right now and eat this whole cake to myself, am I going to be happy tomorrow about the decision I made? The answer is no. Cool. Then you're more likely to not make that decision. It's easier said than done, especially in the moment. But overall, it's always good to remember what it is you don't want, just as bad, just as important as the thing you're chasing. So, point number 5: get crystal clear on exactly what happens if you don't prioritize your health. Number 6: zoom out. A lot of the times, people will have one bad day, and point 6 and 7 kind of go off of each other. But there's something called the consistency calendar, and this has worked incredibly well with some of my clients. A lot of my clients think they're being consistent. A lot of people in general think they're being consistent. Well, there's only one way to find out, and that's to track and make sure that you actually are being consistent. So, what is the consistency calendar? Consistency calendar is, let's zoom out, right? And we know that we're after roughly 80%, 80-20 rule, right? 80% of your food coming from whole natural sources that someone either had to kill or pull from the ground in order to get to your plate, right? Really good general rule of thumb. And then 20% can kind of be from whatever you want. And allows you that freedom and flexibility to eat what you want, just not as much as you might want it. But you still get to enjoy the healthy, delicious, the quote unquote unhealthy, less nutritious foods like Oreos, ice cream, chips, whatever, right? You can still enjoy those. And so let's look at 80-20 from a daily perspective. So let's say you're eating 2,000 calories a day to lose weight. If you're somebody that gives you 80% of 2000 is 1600. So you get 1600 calories from whole natural foods, and then you get 400 calories to play with to come from ice cream, chips, whatever it is that you want. Right. And that's how you be flexible with it. That's how you create a plan that allows you to be strict enough to still reach your goals and feel good while not neglecting and restricting all the foods that you love. Right. Now let's look at the month. What does 80-20 look like in the month? And this is where the calendar comes into play. So get a physical calendar and map out 80% of the 30 days in a calendar month, right? You have about 24 to 26 days a month where you need to be on plan, where you can follow that regular 80-20 rule and still be on plan. You then have 4 to 6 days a month where you can be completely off plan and still be on plan. There's a lot of freedom in that. Because now what you can do is with that calendar is twofold. You can map out the days that you know or you're going to struggle with. December is the best month to use an example, right? I have, let's say, two Christmas parties. I have a New Year's party to go to. I have Christmas Day, and then I have Boxing Day with the family, right? There's 5 days of the month of December that you know you're going to be tempted to go off plan. So circle those days on the calendar. There you go. You know that if you go to those events and you don't stick to the plan, then you're still going to be considered on plan. That's what's great is that you can map out your month. You can every other month of the year you can go, I want to go on date night with the husband, so this day, and this day, there's 3 dates this month that I'm mapping out and planning for my husband, where I get to go out for dinner and enjoy a delicious, amazing, super unhealthy meal with my husband, and get to enjoy it and not have to stress about being off plan because I planned for it. Now let's actually look at the consistency part of it. Lots of the time we have goals that we want to reach every single day. One goal being, so let's say 1,800 calories is my goal, 160 grams of protein, and workout. Let's get those 3 things, right? Let's see those are the 3 habits we're trying to be consistent with. How many days did you go over? And so now you're going to basically what happens is any single day that you go over the 1,800 calorie mark that off as, was it consistent? It's not a failure. You didn't fail, but you were not consistent with your calories. You were not consistent with your protein. You were not consistent with your sleep. Let's use sleep instead of workout because working out every day might not be the healthiest thing. So every single day that you don't get 7 hours of sleep, every single day, and all 3, by the way, all 3 have to be check mark in order for it to be a successful day, right? And it's not successful or failure, it's just a day. But if you're going through it and you go 1,802 calories, doesn't count, does not count. If you go over if you go over your calories and under your protein, the day it was inconsistent. You were not consistent with the numbers that you have. You were not consistent with your goal. If you get under 7 hours of sleep, was not consistent. And all 3 have to be checked in order for you to be considered a consistent day. So if you go more than 5 days in that month where you didn't hit those numbers, then you were not being 80% consistent. Now, this isn't an opportunity to beat yourself up and call yourself a failure. No, this is an opportunity for you to look at this and go, okay, well, what's getting in the way of me being consistent? What's the thing that's stopping me from being 80% consistent? And then work on those, address those, take those, write them down and be like, what can I do to start addressing these problems so that I become more consistent? It is a very powerful, objective way of measuring consistency because everyone thinks they're being consistent. Everyone thinks they're being an 8 or 9 out of 10 consistency, when in reality, it's just not the case for most people. Not everybody, but for most people. Most people are not nearly as consistent as they think they are, as they self-report they are. And so one of the easiest ways to do that is to whip out your calendar, pick your calorie target, your protein target, and your sleep hours target. And any day where you don't check all 3 of those boxes is considered an inconsistent day. And if you have more than 6 of those, more than 5 or 6 of those, you know you're not being consistent enough. Why? It's not an opportunity for you to jump on it and get emotional and start beating yourself up over it, but think about it. What is getting in the way? What is stopping me from actively being properly consistent? So zoom out. Point number 7, very similar, is falling off the wagon is one thing. Everyone does it. Everyone has bad days. Staying off the wagon is your choice. Staying off the wagon is an option that you are deciding is a good idea. Everyone falls off the wagon. Everyone makes mistakes. How you respond to those mistakes is up to you. So if you fall off the wagon and you think, oh no, like my whole plan is ruined. I fucked up. Like I screwed up. Everything's screwed up. I ruined the whole plan. I might as well just keep screwing up because I already screwed up. So I might as well keep screwing up, enjoy myself now, enjoy myself while I can, and then just get it out of the way now. And then I'll just start over again on Monday. Well, think about that for a second. If you forget to brush your teeth on Tuesday, do you wait till next Monday to start? No, you just brush your teeth the next day, right? The idea is you just get back on track. Like, don't let falling off the wagon be an excuse to then just abandon the wagon altogether. You get to decide the next decision, the next meal either gets you back on track or digs yourself a deeper hole. It's 100% in your power. But what ends up happening is people think they screwed up, and so they just keep screwing up. That doesn't make any sense. But you didn't screw up anything. Like, let's take a look. Let's zoom out. Let's say you eat 4 times a day, right? So that's 28 meals a week. One meal is only 3.6% of your weeks of food. That's nothing. That's nothing to freak out over. That's nothing to get stressed out about. That's nothing to panic about. Like, just get back on track. When you fall off, was it delicious? Cool. Get back on track. Done. Don't turn it into a multi-meal, multi-day, multi-week thing. Just get back on track the next day. You didn't ruin anything. The only way to guarantee that you fail is to quit. The only way to guarantee that it turns into a problem is to keep making it a problem. When you fall off, acknowledge that it happened. Don't freak out over it. Everyone does it. Everyone. Again, I do this for a living, and I still have these days way more often than I would like. I'm still working on it, but I don't let it turn into a multi-day thing. Just take it as it is, acknowledge that it happened, ask yourself why it happened and what you can do better going forward, what you can do to maybe better mitigate the situation, what systems can you put in place to maybe make a better decision next time or not go overboard next time, and then move on. The problem is usually not the problem. The problem is typically your response to the problem. It's how you view the problem. That's the problem. The reality is you didn't fail. You're not a failure. Failing is a singular event, not a defining characteristic. Just because you made a mistake does not mean that you are a failure. It means that you stumbled a bit. But getting back up and keeping moving forward is completely in your hands. So that's it. Those are the 7 tips that my most successful weight loss clients have used to be successful with their weight loss. Start small, plan for your worst days, only pick 1 to 3 things to start. How can you integrate it into an already existing routine? Get crystal clear on the consequences of not prioritizing your health. Zoom out, create an 80-20 rule for yourself of consistency, and be objective with it. Don't be emotional with it. Be objective with it. And simply ask yourself the question, why am I not being consistent and how can I improve? That's it. What can I do to make things easier, more fun? How can I make consistency easier? And then number 7, falling off is one thing, but staying off is a choice. I hope these helped. Let me know if any of these resonated with you, or if any of the, or how you're going to implement any of these things. What habits you want to work on. Leave any questions you have. I love having these conversations. I love discussing. But yeah, I'll see you in the next time. Goodbye.